on my trip, I noticed that there was a club called San Francisco Randonneurs, which I have no idea who the clue they were.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mailed someone. At the time, it was Rob Hawks. I said, "Oh, I'm going there. I would like to know more about randonneuring
Yeah.
because here in Portugal, nothing happened. Do we have some place where you can? No, but we can have a lunch." And when you had lunch, and I learned a lot about randonneuring in San Francisco, in China, in a restaurant in Chinatown. Okay,
That's great. So that's
okay.
where Randonneuring Portugal started, in a restaurant
In
in
a way,
Chinatown
in a
in San
way, yes.
Francisco. Okay.
In a way, yes.
Today we have Pedro Alves, who lives in Lisbon, Portugal, also where I went to my honeymoon, by the way. He's been riding brevets since 2010. He also founded the Randonneurs Portugal in 2011. Welcome, Pedro. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Peter. It was very nice, the invitation. Okay, I'm happy to talk to you about PEP and other and learning here in Portugal.
Perfect.
Nice talking to
Thank
you.
you. I always like to start with this question, Pedro. What does completing PBP mean to you? And actually, I should have mentioned you've done it 4 times, so that's a lot of completions. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Peter, PVP for me, it's a management process. Okay. People sometimes wonder why I say this. I say this lots of time, which is for me, it's managing a project. It's kind of like breaking the elephant into slices, okay, and being able to complete. I never think of PVP as a 1,200 kilometers, okay. I always think of it as small slices of a big pizza, okay, and that is probably why sometimes I wonder, and people ask me, "What was your global experience on PvP?" And I tend to have only small slices. I don't have the global experience. Okay, I always and that's been my approach to PvP since the first one to this one, since 2011 until 2023. Yeah.
Cool.
I always did the same. So always this, I did the same approach on all PVPs. Okay, and I made a little bit twitches, but always the same approach. Okay.
Perfect. Well, we can talk about that. How did it feel the very first time you did it? You completed in 2011. How did it feel once you got to that finish line?
This is really stupid. That's what I thought. No.
Oh, we all know it's stupid, Pedro. Okay, good. But how did you feel?
Yeah, it's something like well, in 2011, it was the preparation. It was the first time, and in a way, we founded Randonneurs Portugal because I and a friend would like to go to PEP. So it had more impact. We prepared and we tried to understand what was to ride in PEP. It was the first time I was riding a 12,000 kilometer ride. So in 2011, it was a relief. Okay, it was a relief because I didn't knew what to expect. Okay, it was the first time I rode this distance. I only have ridden 600, so it was yes, it was a fulfillment experience. It was coming to the finish line. It was more of an emotional experience than all the others. It's
Yeah,
true. Okay,
yeah.
because because of the background, all the things that I have to do, and the unknown. Okay, the thing about I am a random that likes to plan stuff, and the thing about not being able to plan it because I didn't know what to expect was kind of yeah.
Cool. And then, you touched upon this, but, your subsequent completions, how does it feel each time when you get to the finish line? Is it different?
For me, it's been different because I always mix up my own completion and runner's approach. I always carry that weight on me. Okay, because in 2015, in 2011, I was the only Portuguese going to PEP from Portugal. Okay, there are some immigrants in France. They have already done it. Okay,
Yep.
Portuguese being nationals. Okay,
Yeah.
but coming from Portugal, I was the only one. In 2015, we were a dozen. So we founded Randonneurs Portugal, and then we brought for us a relatively large contingent, and I always feel that responsibility, of being able to finish and being able to provide something. I don't know. In reality, I don't know what, but some kind of moral
I
support
know.
or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
designing cool jerseys,
Yeah.
whatever. Okay,
It is
whatever.
a very nice jersey, by the way. I saw it online. I like it a lot. It's cool.
And yeah, and the 2015 was a different ride for me because it was the first time we had around. I think we were 13 or 14. I don't remember. I'm not a number guy. as I told you at the start. And the thing about what kept me from the experience that I got in 2015 was being able to ride with a friend of mine, which is Tiago, that had Shermer's neck
Oh wow, yeah.
on his way back. Currently, he's not riding as frequently as he was in 2015. But that was what the way the experience was, that because he rode around 200 kilometers looking at my rear wheel. Okay, and I thought, oh, I read about Shermer's neck, but one thing is to read it, and another thing
Oh yeah,
is having your body having Shermer's neck. And he decided he wanted to complete, and it was an experience. Okay, being able to help someone, help is not the right word.
yeah,
Okay, but let's call it help. Okay, to finish a ride
yeah,
in that circumstance was
yeah.
was
That's
was
interesting.
fulfilling. And I still have his number, his plate. It's there on my desk.
Yeah.
Okay, and he offered me his plate, and it's
Yeah.
something that I keep in my in
He
my
could
desk.
he could probably describe every detail of your back wheel and your cassette and
Yes,
everything. That's a lot of looking at
yes,
that wheel.
yes, yes, yes.
Cool. Well, maybe take a step back and maybe tell me about your background in cycling. Like when did you start? That kind of thing.
I started riding bicycles more seriously around on the last years of my college, around in 1986. Okay, when I started riding longer distances, it was around 2014, 2004. Okay, in 2008, I did first time I did 600 Ks,
Yeah.
and I did 600 Ks in 2008, 2009,
Yeah.
and then I heard about PBP,
Yes.
and I
Okay.
said, it seems like you need to ride 600 Ks to ride PBP. So I thought, well, I've been riding 600 Ks in a thing that we call Portugal na Vertical, which was our first brevet. So
Okay.
that it is a sorry, okay. I rode it with a friend
Yeah.
in 2008 and 2009 as a recreational ride. Okay, it's coming from the north of Portugal to the south, and then in 2010, when I heard that we need to ride brevets and nobody organized brevets in Portugal, we went to Spain to our friends in Galicia.
Yeah.
We have great friends in Galicia. Okay. I rode there the 200, the 300, the 400, when I rode the 400, I said I cannot ride here because this climb. I'm not a great climber, and I
Okay.
thought I'm going to be that here. If I ride here 600 k's, I'm going to be that. So when we got back from Galicia, which is around 600 k's from my
Yeah.
home here in Lisbon, I and a friend decided we should organize brevets, because if we don't organize a 600, we are not going to go to PVP.
Yeah.
This is the short story. Okay,
Yeah.
so we decided to organize, and the first brevet that we did was this Portugal na Vertical, that 600 ride. Okay.
Amazing. And can I ask? Well, I have two questions. One about just becoming like forming your own randonneering region, but just one question about riding bicycles in Portugal. As someone who
Mm.
did my honeymoon road trip in Portugal, the drivers, they're a little bit, would I say, aggressive? Would that be right? I
Yes,
just remember very,
you're right. You're cycling south of Europe. Okay.
yeah,
Portugal, Spain, and Italy, the places that I cycled, okay, are a bit more aggressive than the drivers,
yeah,
okay. But it changed a lot, okay. It's been a change for the better in the past. I say 15 years, okay. It's a lot better. Okay?
yeah,
It's a lot better. There are lots of people riding, okay, and riding bicycles. It's a lot better. Even though it's if you compare riding here with riding in some parts of the US, and I've ridden in some, okay. If you ride in California, it's one thing. If you ride in Texas, it's another. Okay,
yeah,
so it depends. Okay,
yeah,
I would say that if you ride in the cities, major cities, they don't have those cycle lines, the beautiful
yeah.
cycle lines that you find in northern European countries. Okay, but it's not that bad.
Back to you started your own sort of randonneering area, or whatever you call
Yes.
it. Did you base it on any, like, how did you figure that out? How does that work? You tell me.
Well, that was a building story. Well, as I told you, we needed. That was at the start. It was a personal need. I
Yeah,
need to go to PBP. Nobody organizes brevis here in Portugal. How can I do this? So we contacted Jean Goulabert
yeah,
in France, and I said, "Oh, we are some guys that like cycling long distance. We noticed that there is nobody organizing here brevis in Portugal. How can you do it?" all you can be an organizer. And this started a bit in an organic way, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't knew where I was going up into. Okay, in reality, I was not. Yeah. Then in 2010, there was something very, very peculiar, which was I was in holiday in San Francisco. On my trip, I noticed that there was a club called San Francisco Randonneurs, which I have no idea who the clue they were. Okay,
Yeah.
and I mailed someone. At the time, it was Rob Hawks. I said, "Oh, I'm going there. I would like to know more about randonneuring
Yeah.
because here in Portugal, nothing happened. Do you have some place where you can? No, but we can have a lunch. And when you had lunch, and I learned a lot about randonneuring in San Francisco, in China, in a restaurant in Chinatown. Okay,
That's great. So that's
okay.
where Randonneuring Portugal started, in a restaurant
In
in
a way,
Chinatown
in
in
a
San
way, yes.
Francisco. Okay.
In a way, yes. And what started in San Francisco is something very, very important that we keep up into the States, which is a volunteering organization. So that's not very common here in Europe, okay? Which is we are a volunteer driven organization. So we don't have support, we don't have sponsorships. We are fully supported by volunteers, okay? And this is good because I always say that our biggest assets it's our volunteers. In a way, it's sometimes it's challenging because the culture of volunteering to do something, it's not. Sometimes it's hard to make this call. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ag-
but
Agree.
I have no regrets. So
Cool.
it's been
And actually, we should also point out the reason we're talking is because Rob Hawks introduced me to you. So he
yes,
recommended, and he's visited you in Portugal, isn't that right?
true.
That's cool.
Him, yes, with his
Cool.
wife Martha. Yes.
Okay, we already talked about PBP and how you heard about it and why you decided to attempt it. Maybe talk about your strategy for that first PBP attempt in 2011. Like, how did you get to a place where you felt you could complete 1200K?
Well, the idea was I was at the time I was a faster rather than I was today, which helps. The thing will be, I have learned something about the way I write, we talked about a lot about that in Randonneurs Portugal, which is I always believe that you have to be able to cycle at a certain pace so that you can sleep. For me, riding PvP is always I'll use the word race, but between commas,
Yeah.
I always race to sleep. Okay, I need to sleep. Sometimes people do power naps on the side of the road. That does not work for me. So I need to sleep 5 hours. Okay, so I need to ride in a way that I can sleep 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my main challenge. Then I thought, how do I know if I have a space to sleep in Carré or Lodiac? And I thought, I don't know. So we got a camper van,
Okay.
and I always stop a camper van in Carré or Lodiac where I sleep. And it's been like this
Yes.
since all the PVPs. Okay,
So
we
cool.
stop there, a camper van. I sleep there. I go to Brest. I get back. I sleep there,
Wow.
and I go
Did,
and I get back.
is the camper van, do you drive it from Portugal or you get it?
No,
You
no.
get it.
Yes. Yes, I drive Porsche. Yes,
Oh, that's
yes.
cool. That's really,
My wife, Ilumina, which she's been a major. She's one of the great volunteers that we have. She's been supporting us
yeah.
for as long as I remember. So yeah, sometimes this year we always took my some family, my nephew and Philomena's sister, which was something of a challenge. I always said, don't take the family with you because that's not holidays. But it was the first time we managed
Yeah.
to, and we managed to do it. Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. And tell me about the decision on the time limit you were going for with 84 hours, that kind of thing.
That was yes, always easy. That's the easy. That was the easiest decision in all my rides. I don't like riding in the morning, so I always say our brevet should start at 6 p.m. and not 8 a.m. But okay, but our brevets need to start at 8 a.m. Okay, people say we should start at 6 a.m. So oh, man, 6 a.m. That's in the morning, man.
Yes.
But I always started in the 84-hour group. Okay, because I wanted to sleep between the night. Okay, so I started 5 a.m. or 6:30, depends on the wave, right?
Yeah.
So I ride through the day. I stop at 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m. I sleep until 6, go to Brest, come to Lodiac around the same hour, sleep again, start
Yeah.
at 8 hour at 8. It's always been an 84-hour group start.
So Pedro, it seems like sleep is important to you, right? Do you find it easy just to go right to sleep, particularly because you're staying in the camper van with family members, which is that stressful or is it hard?
Nope,
Okay.
not stressful. I stop and I sleep. I always say eat, sleep, ride, right? So I have a cap from North Carolina Randonneurs which has eat, sleep, ride. So that's it. I always do that. Eat, sleep, ride, and I stop, I sleep, I eat, and I sleep. No problem.
That's
I don't
great.
have a problem sleeping. Some people have, yes, they wander and they are very active. I don't have that problem. I have the problem waking up, not sleeping.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. And obviously, you don't go to the controls for food. Maybe you do a lot of the food in the camper. Is that right?
No, I only go for food in the camper on the where I sleep. The other controls I go to, yeah, to foods
Cool.
on the controls. Okay.
Well, maybe tell me a little bit more about that first ride. Any in 2011? Any challenges? Anything else that people should
The biggest
understand?
surprise, yes, I almost had to drop that ride because I found that my butt and brook saddles don't mix, and I found that on the 1200 because I rode the brook saddle in 400 and 600 all went well, and then on the big ride I had to buy something that well, I had to buy a saddle cover, which is something of a not a very randonneuring expert
Yeah.
gadget,
Yeah.
but it saved my life.
Okay.
Okay, I keep it. I keep that saddle cover. I say this saddle cover saved my life at PBP. It's down there in the basement.
That's amazing. That is the funny thing about any of these rides. Like you had done 600K before, you didn't have an issue, but then suddenly, when did the issue start? Was it after 600 or?
No, I know it started in Fougères,
Okay.
so
So,
it was at 800 around that.
oh, cool. Okay, that's good. Anything else on that first ride? You'd obviously never done it before at that point. Did it always feel you were going to make it, or you were kind of worried, or how did you feel?
Um, I did a mistake on 2011, which was I wrote that I was not expecting such a fast pace riding on the first 300 k's, and that was when I got to when I got to the first control at 200 k's. I said, I'm not going to be able. I'm not going to finish this. How can I ride this this speed?
Yeah.
Then I started, well, you need to stop and calm down. Okay,
Yeah.
then it went. Okay, but the start was kind of intimidating. I was expecting, I always ride with a small community where we all know each other, So and we have a relatively slow to average pace. I never rode a brevet, whatever distance, with that kind of a pace going off. Okay, and that was staggering. And I said, that was one of the things that I keep my. And sometimes I talk about this, which is, especially if you ride on 80 or 84 hour, keep cool and pace yourself so that you
Yeah.
don't burn out, you
Yeah.
burn yourself out. And that, well, didn't cost me the ride. But when I got to the ride, I said, I'm dead, and I need to ride more 1,000 k's.
Yeah.
Let me see how can I do this.
Yeah.
Yes,
And Pedro,
but then I recovered.
did you rode with your buddy that first time, 2011? Is that correct?
No, he was not able to ride. He came and he was not able to ride.
Okay,
Yes,
so you were by yourself basically, and then
yes,
you were sort
yeah.
of attaching yourself to two fast groups of people. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
The 84-hour group. The first wave. I was not expecting such a fast pace.
cool.
Okay.
And then, so you got to the finish line, and it must have been felt amazing. We already talked about that. Did you have any other low moments or anything else like that?
Apart from the rain, which
Okay.
is something that I don't like to ride in the rain,
Yes.
you will probably understand why, because here in Portugal we have around 200 days, 260 days of sun. So the rain didn't feel well. I was expecting it. I always usually my bike has a nod have a nod for Portuguese runners, which is says fenders, which is a bike with fenders.
Yeah.
So I always say take your fenders to PBP because it's right. Even when it's not raining, even in 2023, there were people who got some rain. Okay, so it rains in Brest. It rains
Yeah.
every time. So yeah, the rain. But I had, apart from the saddle, which could be which would be a serious issue, no major issues. Okay.
Uh, and then Pedro, like the weather, we'll talk about the subsequent times, but just in general, you've done it 4 times. So the weather in 2011 was known for the rain. Is that correct? There was a lot of rain.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then the the subsequent years you had different kind of climate issues. Is that right?
Yes, in 2011 was, as I remember, this is
I know.
remembering stuff from a
It is
long time
tough.
ago. But it was the only time that I remember to have caught rain in a way that it's noticeable. Okay, I think it rained every PVP except this one,
Yeah,
2023,
yeah,
where I don't have where I was not on the rain. Some randonneurs from our club had rain, but I didn't.
yeah.
I was lucky. The cloud was not on top of me, so I
Exactly.
was I was I was happy.
Yeah,
Yeah, but 2011 was probably the weather wise it was the worst, and this year was the hottest,
yeah,
which for me it's not a problem. But
exactly.
it was hottest, but the hot and humidity, which is something that it's not very common in Brittany. So
Cool.
it was kind of
So then,
weird.
so then, Pedro, during the ride, were you saying to yourself, "I'm never going to do this again," or were you saying, "I am going to do this again"? Because obviously, you did do it again in 2000.
During the first time I think I didn't thought about that
Okay.
in reality. Okay, I only yes in 2015 I had no chance. I had to write it because we had 13 or 15 people from Randonneurs Portugal. I felt the urge to go. Okay,
Yeah.
because our club grew, whatever that means, grew in
Yeah.
that time span. It was 2011 2015, so it made no sense. Well, I could go there and not try.
Yeah.
Okay, but it made no sense. Okay,
I get you.
at least for me. Okay, in 2011, in 2019, I had my doubts about writing it again, but again there was a large contingent from Portugal, and I went. I think Randonneurs Portugal in a way gave me back the need to write. Okay, that's something it has it's a good repercussion of it. Yes.
That's cool. That's cool. And maybe we'll talk more about 2023 because I know you changed your equipment pretty dramatically. But before
Yes.
that, is there anything else that changed in 2015 and 2019 to your strategy?
The only thing I changed in 2011, I didn't sleep a third night. That's why I did it in 70 hours or
Yeah.
69 or something like that. And the other is I learned that I have the time. I'm not a very competitive. I don't. For me, as long as I don't finish in the last hour, which is kind of stressful
Yeah.
for me. Okay,
Yeah.
as long as I have time to sleep, I want to. What I developed is I want to write this as comfortable as I can. That's my North Star.
Yeah.
I see. My North Star is writing this. As I said, this is stupid enough. So I need to make this as comfortable as I can. And if I have time to sleep, and I always sleep at the okay. If I have time to sleep at the
Yeah.
and for the third night and get in the morning and finish at 8 or 9 a.m., it's fine for me.
And as sort of head of the club in Portugal, did you all ride together, or even if you don't
No.
ride together, do you feel a responsibility, as in you want everyone to finish? I suspect.
Yes, we have a community of volunteers that is very tight. Okay, that's everybody knows each other. Okay, and we are a relatively small bunch. So obviously we want everybody to finish, and we keep in touch. Okay, I don't keep in touch, but for instance, Philomena and most of the times knows where everybody is, or no, she doesn't know where
Yeah.
everybody is, but she knows more or less where everybody is. So
Yeah.
we feel, yeah, it's kind of a ride of a community. If you find a fellow randonneur on the course, you stop and you drink a coffee. This year in 2023, I think I stopped 3 or 4 times. I'm not the type of guy that stops in every shop.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you see a Randonneurs Portugal jersey, you stop. And it's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and Pedro, did you so you rode by yourself the first time, right? So the second,
Yes.
third, fourth time you rode with others. Did that change the
Yes.
dynamic at all? Your dynamic?
Um, in a way it didn't because I was the in 2015 I was the only one right starting at the 84-hour group.
Okay.
Okay, everybody started at the 90
Oh,
hour.
okay.
So we've met. Okay,
Yeah.
we've met along the route, especially in the way back.
Yeah.
Okay, but that didn't start in 2015. That was that episode with the Shermer's neck, which was I rode with somebody. Yes, that was let's say that was from all the PBPs, that was the only time I rode consistently a long distance with a fellow club member.
Yeah.
Okay, but apart from that, I've been right. In 2019, I was with another friend called Tiago. Also, I have a Tiago that rode with me, and unfortunately, he quit. Okay, he dropped the ride. Okay,
Yeah.
but that was the only time where I planned to ride with someone. Okay,
Yeah.
we were sharing our logistics.
Yeah.
Okay, we planned the logistics. We was going to sleep where I was,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was.
It must be so cool and gratifying when someone from your club who's never done it before, completes it, and you're like the elder statesperson.
I don't see myself a lot in that. Okay, but I understand. I see what you mean. I don't see myself that in that position because there are many riders who are riding breviers here that have lots of experience. Okay,
Yeah.
for instance, at the time there are people who like to ride a lot more 1200 than myself. Okay,
Okay.
I'm not a 1200 guy. I'm a 600 guy. Okay, I
Okay.
like to ride 600 k's.
Okay.
1200 makes me lose a life. I
Okay.
believe that runners have 7 lives like cats,
Yeah.
and it takes a toll on me. It
Yeah.
takes physically, it takes a toll on me. That wasn't the reasons we can talk about that about
We'll
going to
talk about
recumbents. Yeah,
2023.
but we have other runners very experienced.
Yeah.
We are a small club, but we have yes.
But do you think, Pedro, that there's any other Portuguese rider out there that's done PBP 4 times?
From coming from Portugal, no. Portuguese immigrants in France, I believe so.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's talk about 2023 because I read your ride report. And in some
Okay.
ways, physically, you were saying to yourself, this is too much for my body. So you made a very dramatic change. You want to talk about that?
Yep. Oh,
Okay.
that's an easy question also.
Okay.
Okay. So my thing is in 2019, I got the how do you say the thing about having your fingers numb. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Numbless fingers. Okay. And that was something that annoyed me a lot. And also I have lots of pain on my back. Okay. And I thought that maybe this is 2019. I said, well, this is fun. I've done it 3 times, and I think I'm not going up. I'm going not take this up again. Okay, and being in bad shape. Okay, for instance, my hands were numbless for 3 months. Okay, or four or something. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, I think I decided not to write 2023. Okay, even though I know when I say this in 2020, it's different than I say this in 2022. But
We all
let's
do.
say that
I
this.
know.
Let's imagine that this is going to be
Yeah.
true.
Okay.
Okay, and then all of a sudden, a friend of mine, Bruno Antunes, that has been riding recumbents for a long time, had a recumbent, an M5, and a Dutch bike. And I started, and he lent me his bike, and I rode it, and I was able to balance myself on it. Okay, and I said, So I had at the time I was very skeptical. Okay,
Yeah.
I looked at that. Oh, this is a gadget, and probably I would. This is not rideable. Okay,
Okay.
especially because I have read a few months early I bought a velomobile, a quattro velo.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
and I thought that was not, and I came to the conclusion that I could not ride a quattro velo in Paris Brest. Okay,
Okay.
it was a heavy velomobile and all that stuff. Okay? And so I was a bit relentless on that. Like I said,
Yeah.
maybe it's not. But then I wrote it. There was someone someone who was selling a bike like his on the internet. I bought it, and I started riding recumbents in August 2000. And
Okay.
then I said, well, if I can, I will ride this bike to PBP.
Yeah.
And that was it. Okay, so I bought it in August 2022, and I did a series. But the first brevet I did, it was in November. Yes, it was in November 2022, and I was not convinced at all. Okay, I said, "Oh man, I cannot ride this because it was not. It was hard to balance and hard to maneuver.
Yeah.
So, this is not the bike. Probably I should buy a faster velomobile because it has 3 wheels." But but then I did some challenging brevets that we have up in the north of Portugal.
Yeah.
We had some fellow runners that organized brevets in northern Portugal, José Ferreira e Manuel Miranda, and I went there and I rode the brevets that they run, and they are very challenging going uphill.
Yeah.
And I was able to climb, I don't know, 15-kilometer climbs, And I thought, well, maybe this bike, maybe I can ride this because this is challenging. This is more challenging in PvP. And then I did the series, and I did PvP. And I have to say that I will never go back to upright bikes.
And that is for longer rides. Do you still do upright? Not at all?
No,
Okay.
they are here. You
Okay.
see, they are hanging on the wall. There's one here. There's the 7, my PvP
Okay.
bike, and there's another there. So yeah,
Pedro, tell me
I,
tell me about the sort of dynamics of a recumbent bike. Like, when I look at a tandem, they are slow uphill, they're so fast downhill. Like, what's the kind of how different is a recumbent bike?
the major difference is you have to learn to ride a bicycle again.
Okay, that's a
So
big difference.
that if you, especially if you want to ride an M there, and recumbent bikes are very different. Okay, the M5 is very stable. So you have other like Barquetas. They are a lot easier to ride. Okay,
Yeah,
they are the Vendettas, the US brand that are also in between. Are in between. Okay, so the bike that you buy, the bike that you ride, it's not like an upright where they're more or less the same. The geometry doesn't influence the bike handling. You can ride a bike. Maybe it's more twitchy or less, but it's a bike. It's
yeah,
an upright bike. It's in recumbents, geometries are very different,
yeah,
and that has a lot to do with the way of the balance of the bike.
yeah.
So the first thing is you need to learn to ride the bicycle again. The other thing that I felt very grateful, which is I always rode with a mirror,
Okay.
which is something very relevant in the recumbent
Yeah.
because you cannot turn your side
Okay.
yourself as you turn your back. No? You cannot turn the head like you turn
Yeah.
in an upright right. So I rode with mirrors
Yeah.
since I remember. People always say, "What do you have there?" It's a mirror, and that was. This is a small detail, okay,
No, but
but it
it's
helped me a lot
that's yeah,
to feel safe on the road, okay, because you cannot turn your head like you turn in, especially if you ride in the city like myself. I live in Lisbon, in downtown Lisbon, so I have cars here.
yeah,
I don't live in a wonderful place where I found a car in an hour. I
mm,
have hundreds of cars around me, so that's the other thing. And the other thing is, if you are a very social rider, recumbents are lonely bikes.
yeah,
So but I tend to ride alone most of my rides. Okay, though but for me it's not an issue. When I ride breves, it made a change. Okay, I usually ride with people. I only ride with the other folks, and now I ride alone. That's a difference.
that's
That's a difference.
that's
Okay.
that's really interesting. The social aspect fascinates me. So
Yes.
you can't really draft with people, other recumbents or upright bikes or anything like that. Is that correct?
Yes, I can draft with upright bikes, but the other way around doesn't work as well. So
Okay.
usually upright bikes don't like to go behind a recumbent for obvious reasons. Okay, but in a recumbent, you can ride with your fellow randonneurs, but you have to make a choice, which is going down hills and going straight. You're faster, you're a lot faster. So you have to pace yourself, and going uphill, if it's a strong uphill, they have to wait for you. It's if you know so you have to make this. If you want to ride in a group, you have to. If you are a strong rider, a strong recumbent rider, and if there are many hills, it's okay.
Yeah.
If there are relevant hills and you want to ride in a group, you have to make that
Yeah.
consensus in the group. Yes.
And how did you feel after 2023, just physically?
You know something? I felt that I have never ridden PvP because one thing is to ride PvP with your heads on the handlebar like this,
Yes.
and the other thing is riding through Brittany with a head like this,
Yeah.
looking at the sightseeing. Okay,
Yeah.
I said I didn't. I never crossed this street. Where is this? I never. In reality, I saw France and Brittany in a way that I have never seen because my head is not on the handlebar, looking at my front tire, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a 28-inch tire, but it's not that good. Okay, so it's from the riding experience, perspective, it's way better.
Yeah.
But my choice, it has not to do with sightseeing. It has to do with my body. Okay,
Yeah.
so you only have to worry about your knees and your. I'm a spinner, so I spin a lot. So I'm a guy that I don't have much strength. I'm not the pusher of the pedals.
Yeah.
I'm a spinner. So you have to be aware that these bikes going uphill, they tend to push on your knees a lot. So you need to pace yourself.
Okay.
Okay, that's the only. You said it's my only worry You say, oh, you're going to ride 1200 and you're worried about journeys. Yes, it's the only worry I have physically. I don't have to worry about my neck, my hands,
Yeah,
my butt. That's over. Okay.
yeah,
That's the only thing you have to worry. Don't push yourself on the climbs so that you don't ruin your knees.
yeah. And like you mentioned, I think in 2019, you got a lot of numbness in your hands, neck, all that. All of
Yes.
that is gone
Yes.
now. Is that
No,
correct?
it's not an issue.
That's
Yes.
incredible. So
Yeah.
maybe to sort of the next question I'm going to ask you, but before you answer, is are you going to do it again, PBP? But do you think the recumbent has sort of extended your life on the bike significantly?
No questions about that.
Okay. Okay.
The problem is usually people are. I'm going to say usually when people discover this, they think they are too old to change your bike. Because if I think if people decided to ride the recumbents when they are on their mid 40s, they would ride a lot more. If you are in your 60s, you're on your late 50s, say, oh, I'm too old to try to ride a bike. And you don't want to change. Change is good. Change is bad. Oh,
Yeah.
change. I'm going to change to a weird bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
But like
definitely.
it's interesting to me. The reason you switched was for much longer rides. Like, were you experiencing issues on, we'll say, 200Ks?
No, no, no.
Okay,
Just on 400 plus, it started to feel something.
I get you.
Yes,
Okay, so the next question is then, will we see you again in 2027?
probably,
Okay, we're
probably
going to
yes,
see the
because
camper van and the recumbent and your family.
or a velomobile.
Okay,
That's still to be found. Okay, but yes, I in the process I bought a new velomobile, and that's a I think that's a very hard challenge for me to ride it in the velomobile. But in a recumbent, probably okay. The velomobile
yeah.
we need to
Well,
sort it out.
actually, let me ask you about that question. So, recumbents and velomobiles, they're somewhat
Mhm.
related. Is it a similar community of people or not really?
No,
Okay.
there are. Yeah, velomobiles are a lot more. It's like triathletes and cyclists. You know, velomobiles are a lot about the tweaks. They like to do a lot of tweaking
It's mechanical, yeah.
working on the machines. And I don't have that. That's one of my low points. I don't like to waste too much time tweaking and fixing the wheels and changing
Yeah.
all the tweaking on the bikes.
We're very
Yes.
similar. We're very similar. I'm not good at any of that stuff. Um, and then, so Pedro, how long do you think you can keep riding long distance? Keep riding PBP?
Honestly, I would think that probably this one and the next one. Pushing, if I'm pushing the boundary, okay.
Yeah.
I have I like to ride the night, so I like people sometimes don't like to ride during the night. I like okay, so that's a plus. The minus is the moment I feel that they are not fast enough so I can sleep. That's a no go. Though I have that pretty clear. Okay,
Yeah.
the moment I cannot sleep, I'm not the kind of guy who's wandering at 3 a.m. Through the roads like this.
Yeah.
That's not for me. Okay,
Do,
because it's too dangerous
yeah,
for my rule book. Yes.
indeed. Do you think you would ever do the 90 hour?
If they put, yes, if the start hour is at 6 a.m., yes. If the
Okay.
start hour is at 6 p.m., no.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm
If they
just,
make a 90 hour starting at in the morning, yes.
yeah, I'm just trying to
Because
get you
it's a different
six
thing.
extra
Everybody
hours.
says me. It's a totally different experience because people are on the street clapping, and I see that, but I don't see that the way people. And there's a long stream of light. Yes, I see that stream of light when coming back.
Yeah.
But on the way, on the first 200 and 300, I think the experience is great. And yes, I didn't see it yet.
Perfect. Okay. So then the last question, Pedro, is 3 tips you would give someone who's never done PBP before.
So first is get a bike that is comfortable. It doesn't need to be the best of the best of the best bike, but you need to be feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable on a bike, that's a major draw. Okay. Second is try to figure out how your body reacts to not sleeping. Okay, sleep deprivation and adjust. You need to know if you can sleep half an hour and it's all. If you need to, if you're the type of guy who does power naps, or you have the guy that maybe needs to sleep for 6 hours. Okay. The other thing is, even if you're not the plan type of guy, do a small plan so that you can know, so that you can keep track of yourself, especially if you're riding alone, because time flies when you are tired. Okay. Yes, that is the. I think those are the three things that I would, yeah, I would point out.
Cool. Pedro, excellent points. It's been a complete pleasure, and I hope to see you in a few years' time at the next PBP, okay?
Thank you, Peter. It was nice talking to you.